I'll go ahead and let the secretary know she can begin her recording. Welcome to the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Senator Brooks?
Here.
Senator Hammond?
Here.
Senator Pickard?
Here.
Senator Spearman?
Here.
Chair Harris?
Here. We have all 5 members present. All right, just a couple of reminders for everyone. Please be courteous and respectful to each other, even when we disagree with another person's position. For those participating on Zoom, please remember to mute your microphone when you are not speaking. The legislative building, as I'm sure most of you have noticed, is closed, but there are several options for public engagement. One, please visit the legislature's website. You can register on Nellis. You'll be sent a phone number where you can testify on bills or make public comment. You can also send written testimony to the committee's email or fax, which is listed on the agenda. On Nellis, there's also an opinion application for sharing your views on bills. That's under legislation or committee meetings. You can also view our meetings online, either through Nellis or through the legislature's YouTube channel. For any assistance that you need, contact our committee manager at the email or phone number on the agenda. All right, so first on the agenda today is Senate Bill 162, which revises provisions governing transportation. I will welcome our newest colleague, Senator Dunyate, to present the bill when you're ready. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Harris, and good afternoon to the members of the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. For the record, my name is Fabian Donate, and I represent Senate District 10 in the heart of Las Vegas. I come before you all today very excited to speak on Senate Bill 162, which would allow the electric vehicles onto the HOV lane. This bill has been in discussion for years now, and it's something that I'm continuing to fight on for a local constituent. And I want to do a quick background on where the bill is, how it came to be, and where it's heading soon. Once I'm done presenting, with the permission of the chair, I would allow Mr. Paul Scott the opportunity to present his background on the bill. And we also have Mr. Cole Mortensen, who is a representative from NDOT that can help provide expertise of what is going to be moving forward. So if you could just allow me one quick second. So with that, let's go ahead and proceed with the presentation. So today I want to breeze through a couple talking points about the adoption of electric vehicles, the opportunity that lies ahead with cutting our carbon emissions, and the financial implications of my original bill and what that has led us to forming the proposed amendment. SB 162 is an act that relates to the transportation, and it allows for a temporary exception to the minimum occupancy requirement for electric vehicles to use the HOV lane on a highway that has already been designated. It requires the Department of Transportation to adopt regulations establishing this program and does so on a limited time frame. In past legislation, it's been documented that Nevada has bold goals for reducing carbon emissions and helping electrify transportation. The better equipped that we are at handling this transition to clean energy, the better response that we'll receive from a climate, health, and economic standpoint. As it stands, current Nevada law allows for the Department of Transportation with the opportunity to enact regulations allowing some single occupant alternative fuel vehicles to use the HOV lanes, but NDOT hasn't been required to do so. In 2009, AB 163 was enacted to allow single occupant alternative fuel vehicles in the HOV lane. And back then, when the bill was originally introduced, it required NDOT to enact regulations to allow this practice. But in the end, they ended up switching it from shall to may in the language. And the main reason for this transition was that given upcoming projects that still lied ahead at that point in time, like Project Neon, there was major uncertainty with how the HOV lane was going to be used in its entirety. Legislators chose to make this from a mandatory to optional. That way, NDOT could determine when to enact regulations based on federal standards and any construction projects that came forward. And in 2019, the state enacted regulations to eventually reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions, which is in direct collaboration to Governor Sisolak's state climate strategy, which was released in December 2020. Given that past bills have already entertained this in previous sessions and the work that still lies ahead to enact this policy, it's clear that some sort of incentive or direct action is needed at this time to help reduce our transportation emissions. Past research provided by the Center for American Progress has documented the impact and effect of a similar policy, like the one that's being presented today, and how it can have a chance to increase the retail market for personal use vehicles. And many states that have already enacted this legislation, we can see through data that access to HOV lanes does move the needle for EV adoption. In some of the charts that provided by research, we can see that HOV access for electric vehicles does impact retail market share, and that there's a significant difference between the states that have enacted this legislation and those that have not. And UCLA has released a similar study that found that 1/4 of California personal use vehicles registrations between 2010 and 2013 were attributed to the HOV lane policy. I think it goes without saying that Nevada needs to be doing everything it can to encourage drivers to make the switch to electric. And there's been some discussion as to what the barriers that lie ahead for electric vehicle adoption. We can talk about the cost and range for a vehicle, the model's availability for the general public, especially for low income and working class families, and knowledge gaps that exist in Nevada, and even the accessibility of charging infrastructure. But the reality is that we already know the benefits of electric vehicle adoption and what that could mean for public health and greenhouse emissions. Increasing adoption to EVs can reduce the costs and improve on affordability. It can contribute to consumer savings for the driver, and it can even improve air quality benefits by reducing the amount of smog in vehicle production. And it most definitely can save lives and improve the health of Nevadans. Public health research has already shown and documented for us how particulate matter emissions correlate to environmental and demographic indices. We can see that reducing carbon emissions and pollution will have a direct effect on marginalized communities, generally because research has shown us that those who are most vulnerable are the ones that live close to transportation infrastructure like highways, which could eventually lead to the involvement of some chronic illnesses or asthma at a later time frame. We know that increasing the adoption of electric vehicles can have good implications on public health and the fight against climate change, but then there's a hidden barrier that lies ahead, and that's with the conversation of the fiscal impact. To expand HOV lanes, it costs the state money to do so, especially if we begin to consider the mandated infrastructure updates like sign changes and marketing campaigns to increase the public's education on this new rule. To address the fiscal impact from enacting this bill, I have proposed an amendment in collaboration with the Nevada Department of Transportation. At this moment in time, as I'm presenting this bill, there's still a lot of what ifs. What will happen with the enforcement of highway patrol? What will happen once the HOV lane becomes too congested or the adoption just dramatically increases? We need good data that can help guide our decision making and an open conversation that includes all individuals before this legislation moves forward. The benefits of this policy could be tremendous, but there's still some uncertainty with how and when to proceed. My proposed amendment would mandate NDOT to conduct a study on the feasibility of implementing this legislation, verify the scientific components of the incentives that have been proposed, engage stakeholders across all sectors to voice their concerns or recommendations regarding the implementation, and then have NDOT report back to the legislature on how enforcement will happen and any infrastructure plans that are needed to enact good policy. This will ensure that Nevada is equipped with the right guidance to improve the adoption of electric vehicles throughout the state, and that we are continuing to move the needle on conversations that have been long overdue. With that, I'm more than glad to entertain any questions from the committee members. And Chair, if you would allow, I'd like to invite Mr. Paul Scott to present on some of his background with this bill.
Thank you. Since August of 2019, I've been advocating for EV drivers to be allowed to use the HOV lanes as a method to encourage EV adoption. Not all EV owners would take advantage of this, but it does encourage people to make the switch to EVs. To reach the net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, it's important that we replace as many gas-powered cars with EVs as possible. cars in Nevada are kept on the road an average of 11 years, which means we only have about 2 replacement cycles left before we reach 2050. Currently, Arizona, California, Utah, Colorado, and 10 other U.S. states already allow EVs to use the HOV lane. Due to this, many EV drivers in Nevada already think it's allowed because it's allowed in all of our neighboring states. I've had this conversation with many of our Tesla club owners, letting them know that it's not the case that they can use those lanes currently, and it's quite disappointing for them to find that out, that we're behind as a state on this. Rohan Patel from Tesla said at the Clean Energy and Transportation Summit in 2019 that in the short term, supplies of battery electric cars will be limited and mostly allocated to areas that have regulations encouraging the adoption of EVs. And this regulation would encourage people to adopt EVs. Allowing single occupant EVs is a relatively inexpensive way to encourage people to make the investment. And in California, it was a primary driver, as the senator mentioned, for a quarter of EV sales. In 2020, California doubled down on allowing EVs in the HOV lane by opening up the HOV sticker program to used EVs. So lower income families that couldn't afford a new EV could take advantage of the program, and it would boost the EV resale market. According to the Nevada DMV, as of late 2019, there were only about 6,000 EVs in the state registered. EV costs a little more than its gas counterpart currently. And while we save money on fuel and maintenance over the life of the car, we do pay more to register them in the state of Nevada because they're more expensive. Allowing EVs to use the HOV lane wouldn't add many additional cars over the next several years, as supplies are somewhat limited, as I mentioned before. But it would encourage more people to consider that for their next purchase. I'm the president of the Tesla Owners Club of Las Vegas, and we do work to help educate the public to reduce the knowledge gaps that were mentioned earlier. But having this regulation in place would give an extra incentive to make that decision easier for people to switch to EVs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. And I believe this might be, one of your first times testifying in front of the legislature. I'll just quickly remind you, anytime you speak, you're going to want to state your name for the record for the ease of the secretary identifying who's speaking.
Apologies. My name is Paul Scott.
No need to apologize at all. Are there any committee members who would like to ask any questions of Senator Dunyate or Mr. Scott? Looks like we have a couple. Okay, I think I saw Senator Pickard first. Senator Pickard.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make sure I understand. We're trying to hit the 2050 targets. So we're going to have to see a significant increase in the number of EVs on the road, and yet the latter part of your testimony, and I'm sorry, this is for Mr. Scott. The latter part of your testimony was that we have very few EVs, so we're not going to really be impacting traffic. How do we square the two? I mean, I have an electric vehicle. I'm certainly supportive of the idea, but I'm trying to wrap my head around why, and I'm not opposed to studying this, but I don't know that we need a study if we already have the information. So for that, I'd like to talk to Senator Donate, but I want to square the comments. How do we meet our 2050 goals and yet not impact traffic? And I'm talking traffic in the HOV lanes.
That's a good question. And currently, because the supplies of EVs
Mr. Scott?
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry. Paul Scott. Currently, the supply of EVs are somewhat limited, and so the growth will be slow over time. So eventually, we could reach a point where it impacts traffic in the HOV lanes, in which case, like some other states, California started off allowing partial electric vehicles, hybrids, and started sunsetting that program and just allowing battery electrics. So if we saw a large increase, then it would be worth revisiting, ending the program, but at least initially to start getting more cars on the road and encouraging people to do it, it would be a good start over the next several years to allow them to do that.
Okay, so if I understand, we're not saying that the electric vehicles are going to be a significant impact on meeting our 2050 goals. At least the incentivizing isn't going to increase that. We're just kind of waiting for the market, and this is an additional incentive for them, or I'm trying to figure out that impact.
Yes, this is Paul Scott. And so the market's going to take a little time to catch up because of the limited number of cars available. We want to educate more people to switch to EVs. So allowing this as an incentive, at least initially, gives them another reason to make that initial investment in paying a little more for the car, allowing them to use the HOV lane. And in 10 years or so, when we reach a point where we have maybe double-digit percentages of cars on the road, maybe it would be worth revisiting at that time whether or not we would keep that program going.
All right, I'm with you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Senator Donate, why a study instead of the bill if we're trying to incentivize EV ownership before we run into our deadline?
Thank you, Senator Pickard, for that question. I think the biggest concern that came first was just the large fiscal impact that would come for that. There are a lot of unknowns right now as to how, because of recent construction projects, it's hard to predict what the lane access right now with HOV, how the usability of HOV lanes right now. I can have Mr. Cole Mortensen to speak more about that, but I think that given the timeline of what's everything's right now, there's still some confusion as to how even we would enforce this. And so, Mr. Mortensen, would you like to speak more about some of the conversations that we had?
I'd be happy to. For the record, Cole Mortensen, I'm a deputy director for the Department of Transportation. Maybe I can provide just a little bit of background. We at the DOT certainly support any initiatives that reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Recognizing that transportation is the number one cause of greenhouse gas emissions, the HOV system was implemented to reduce greenhouse gases in two ways, reducing the number of vehicles in the system and reducing the congestion of those vehicles and due to lower speeds and idling. So we're trying to incentivize people to utilize that HOV system to reduce the overall number of vehicles that we have every day driving through the valley. Starting in 2007 and reevaluated in 2015 with stakeholders including the FHWA, NHP, local agencies, and public hearings, we developed the Hov Master Plan that currently identifies HOV operating parameters. During those efforts, many concerns regarding allowing EVs or partial EVs in this system were discussed. We'd like to thank the senator for his willingness to work with us and work towards resolving some of those concerns, including, disincentivizing carpooling by having that lane potentially be more congested than the other lanes on the freeway. We also have an enforcement concern. It's identifying those vehicles that we would be allowed in the system and how the NHP would actually enforce those regulations. We're also a little bit concerned about equity, about who would be able to afford an EV to be able to use the HOV system, as well as, potential enforcement issues from an equity standpoint as well. And as they mentioned earlier, across the nation, we've seen states roll back on having partial EVs in the HOV system just due to the number of vehicles that then get in the HOV system, reducing its overall effectiveness in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So taking another look at it and studying it allows us to take a more data-driven approach to how we operate the system for Las Vegas. And as many of you know, we expanded the system and added utility to it during Project Neon, and we're studying the system to determine if our operational parameters need to be adjusted. Some of you have already seen the results of that study in the access points that we've allowed on the system. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit and traffic volumes dropped system-wide, so we don't feel like we're really getting correct data presently. However, we will have data in the future to help us guide with more educated decisions as far as how we're going to operate the system overall, and that could include allowing EVs within the HOV lane.
All right, thank you. And Madam Chair, if I may just follow up with Mr. Mortensen on one quick question, if that's all right.
Sure. Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Mortensen, you talk about incentivizing HOV lane use by carpooling. Is there any data that suggests that actual carpooling has increased? I'm not going to throw NHP under the bus, but I see an awful lot of single drivers driving in that lane. Is there data suggest that we actually see an increased level of HOV usage, an increase in carpooling because of the HOV lane presence?
Thank you for the question, Senator Pickard. Again, Cole Mortensen for the record. That is actually part of what we're studying presently to try to determine the overall HOV, usage, both legal and not legal, and how best to operate the system into the future. And as you guys have seen, we've also implemented some new technology with those the new automated traffic management system gantries that allow us to adjust the speed in real time. And so there's just a lot of moving parts to the entire system right now. And we really would like to be able to collect enough data to make educated decisions on how we operate our system.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And I would certainly support that study. And just anecdotally, I'd be surprised if we actually saw a significant increase in carpooling because of that lane. Anyway, love to see the data. Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the indulgence.
Vice Chair Brooks.
Thank you, Chair Harris. I have a question about the portion of the bill. This is not on the amendment, but on the bill itself. And it would be section 3, 2, and where it references, when we're talking about low emission and energy efficient vehicles, it references 23 USC 166 F3, and that is that I'm reading that code, that US code right now. Does that just apply to battery electric vehicles, or does it apply to hybrids and even high efficiency internal combustion engines?
Thank you, Vice Chair Brooks and through Chair Harris. I would have to get clarification from legal. This is Fabian Donati for the record. I would have to get clarification from legal just to answer that question. That would be my main response to that, just so I can make sure that I answer your question correctly.
I appreciate that. I don't know if Mr. Mortensen might know, because that goes back to the original statutes that said that the department may adopt regulations, and it referenced that type of a vehicle. Mr. Mortensen, do you happen to know if that's just a battery electric vehicle? Because it seems to be, I'm having a heck of a time interpreting what I'm reading here, but it seems to be other vehicles as well.
For the record, Cole Mortensen, I am not familiar with that regulation, so I don't know that I could answer that for you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And Senator Donate, as somebody, I drive an electric vehicle, and by myself most of the time, and I would definitely take full advantage of this and appreciate the effort. And I think it does help for the early adoption of it provides a low cost incentive. And Chair, if I may, can I ask Mr. Mortensen another question?
You sure can, but before you do, I'm going to add a note of Vice Chair Brooks' question so that we can pass that on to Ms. O'Grady and make sure that you get a response.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. And so, Mr. Mortensen, when I'm looking at the fiscal note, and I know this is the policy committee, but I think this is the motivation for the amendment, obviously, that Senator Donate submitted. When I look at the fiscal note from NDOT, it looks as if it's all about signage and about a $1.4 million price tag for redoing the signage. And is that something that would be legally required? I mean, is it possible that you would have the existing signage that says HOV lanes, and then by statute you would have the ability for other vehicles to use that, even though the signage doesn't necessarily reflect that. Is that something that you feel is legally required to change the signage? Obviously, it makes a ton of sense, and we would have much more education and far more usage if we did change the signage. But do you feel that's legally required?
I would have to, or for the record, Cole Mortensen, Deputy Director at NDOT, I would have to look into what our legal requirements for that would be. That fiscal note was developed based on what our design requirements are through federal requirements. And of course, this is interstate, so we have to follow those design requirements. So part of it might not necessarily be so much a legal requirement as a requirement from the FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, as far as how we sign the interstate system. And so that's where that cost comes from.
Thank you, Mr. Mortensen. Didn't even think of that. Appreciate that answer. That's it for me, Chair.
All right, thank you. Senator Hammond.
Thank you, Chair. I think some of the questions that were already asked answered some of my thoughts. Because I go back, the first thing that came to my mind is enforcement. And according to what we've heard in the past, this is what I want to make sure I'm clarified on. That's why you want to do a study, because you're not sure exactly how the enforcement would happen. And I'll give you a scenario. I can imagine somebody, I don't know everything about every single car, make, model. If I were a police officer and I'm going along and I saw a vehicle in that lane with only one passenger, because right now that's what they're looking for, right? They're looking to see multiple passengers or not. And then you can make a determination of whether or not you're going to make a stop and then pull them over. But if you don't know what make and models, unless it's, some of them say a hybrid on it or something like that, you're basically pulling people over that you then have to find out later on. Determine whether or not they're illegally. Is that kind of why you want to make that, do this study, is to kind of find out how you're going to enforce? Because obviously, I don't like to see more police officers pulling over more people and then having more of the, face-to-face confrontation between the general public and the police officers when it doesn't need to happen.
Thank you, Senator Hammond. For the record, Fabian Donate, through the chair. That's exactly one of the main questions that we had. Some of the ideas that we had to help with enforcement was, the first thing that we proposed was, well, there's already an electric vehicle license plate, so why not just, if you would like to use the HOV lane, require you to get that specific license plate with the EV signage to your vehicle? That makes it a little bit easier for enforcement. But then you run into the question of what happens if you are handicapped and you prefer a different license plate, or and then it starts to get into like the really complicated of like, well, do you adopt a sticker, or are there separate subsections that we can approach? And that, I think that's what caused us to start thinking about, well, the real question in time is that we need a study to help determine what that enforcement mechanism is and if there are any implications for that, so that we can make a good decision as to how the policy should move forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer, because that was the first thing that kept coming to my mind as I'm reading through. And as far as signage, Senator Brooks was, you may not need the signage, but I know that so many people, when you're driving along and you see somebody in that other lane and there's only one person in that HOV lane, I know people get upset. And so if they don't see that, on the signage that it's permissible, they tend to get, look, road rage is a real thing, and that's what I would be worried about, is increasing those incidences as well. So I like the discussion we're having right now. Study seems to make sense to me.
All right, thank you, Senator Hammond. Are there any other questions from committee members before we open it up to testimony? Okay, not seeing any. Oh, Vice Chair Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. Real quick question. Is this intended to be one of the statutory interim studies that you're suggesting that this be, right? That's like an official legislative study?
Thank you, Vice Chair Brooks. I would have to clarify with legal on that as well. My intention was that I would mandate NDOT to take this on. I don't know if that would qualify as one of the legislative studies that we pick at the end. So I can follow up with you on that.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
All right. At this time, BPS, if you could go ahead and open up the line for testimony in support of SB 162.
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 162, please press *9 now to enter the queue. Once again, to testify in support of Senate Bill 162, please press *9 now. All right, will the caller with the last three digits of 732 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kyle Davis, Kyledavis, and I'm here today on behalf of the Nevada Conservation League. We are in support of SB 162. The transportation sector is the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in our state, and it also contributes large amounts of criteria pollutants that affect human health. The solution to reduce pollution from the transportation sector is electrification so that more and more of our cars, trucks, and buses are powered by clean, renewable energy. SB 62, in its original form, offers an incentive for more Nevadans to make the decision to go electric. Electrification is only one part of an overall pollution strategy. We must also reduce vehicle miles traveled and single-occupant trips and invest in effective transit. This being said, SB 62, even in its amended form, is a good step forward for transportation electrification. We urge the committee's support. Thank you.
All right, will the next caller with the last three digits of 837 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin.
Hi, great. This is Catherine Stankin. It's Katherine, and the last name Stainken. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name, again, is Catherine Stankin, and I'm the Policy Director with Plug in America. We represent the consumer voice in Nevada, the consumers in your district and around the state. We support SB 162 for several reasons, though I should specify we prefer pre-amendment, as we encourage this program to be developed right away so we can get to widespread adoption of EVs. We work in states across the nation, and there's plenty of data that currently exists from other states that show the benefits, how to enforce, which is usually by license plate or a decal, and to ensure that low-income folks can take advantage of the program. That said, I'd like to emphasize a few points. First, this bill is an extremely low-cost item to the state that will grow EV adoption. Data from the Center for American Progress shows that states that allow the EVs to access the HOV lane more than doubles the adoption in that state. This data was confirmed by the National Renewable Energy Lab, NREL, and just to drive this point home, a post-purchase study of EV buyers performed by UC Davis showed that the HOV lane access was the top purchase reason for about 40% of the respondents in California. Second, as mentioned by many, this bill aligns with the objectives of Nevada to transition to an electric transportation future. Third, depending on how NDOT creates the program, access to the HOV lane can apply to the new and used EV, and this creates a fair program for consumers of all incomes. And finally, a point to note, no state that has allowed EVs into their HOV lanes has complained of clogged lanes as a result of the EVs, not even California. So on behalf of the consumers in Nevada who wish to purchase EVs, we urge you to support SB 162 and create the development of an HOV program today so we can achieve widespread adoption of EVs.
All right, will the next caller with the last three digits of 556 please slowly state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin now.
Yes, thank you. This is Matt Fromer, M-A-T-T, last name Fromer, F-R-O-M-M-E-R. So good afternoon, Chair Harris and fellow committee members. My name is Matt Fromer, and I'm the Senior Transportation Associate with the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project, where I work on transportation policy in Nevada and across the Southwest. We strongly support Senate Bill 162, which would encourage Nevada drivers to switch from gas-powered cars to cleaner and more efficient electric vehicles. According to the DOE's Alternative Fuels Data Center, 13 other states in the U.S. are currently offering HOV and HOT lane priority to encourage the acquisition of clean vehicles and reduce transportation pollution. These types of policies are especially important in Nevada, where we struggle to comply with federal ozone attainment levels in Clark County. Ground level ozone is known to cause a number of respiratory issues, particularly for vulnerable populations like children, seniors, and communities living near highly trafficked highways. In addition to local pollution, transportation is the #1 source of greenhouse gas pollution in Nevada, and vehicle electrification was identified as one of the top strategies to combat climate change in the 2020 Nevada Climate Strategy. Today's electric vehicles are significantly cleaner than their gasoline counterparts and have zero tailpipe emissions. Additionally, an EV purchased in Nevada today will get cleaner each year as NV Energy continues to decarbonize the electricity grid. With hundreds of new EV models coming to market in the next few years, Nevada has a real opportunity to transition its fuel source from dirty fossil fuels to cleaner electricity. This policy has proven to move the market, and compared to the more expensive EV policies, it's low-hanging fruit. To share a few Nevada-specific electric vehicle numbers, roughly 2.5% of all new vehicles sold in Nevada last year were electric, and the state now has about 12,000 total electric vehicles on its roads. While market growth has been impressive, EV adoption is not happening fast enough. According to a study from the Rocky Mountain Institute, Nevada will need 600,000 EVs on the road in 2030 to hit the Senate Bill 254 GHG reduction targets, almost 50 times as many EVs as Nevada has today. This is absolutely possible, but we must use every tool in the toolbox to accelerate this transition to an electric transportation system, and we need to do this quickly. Supporting widespread adoption of EVs is an important strategy for addressing climate change and improving air quality. This policy is a proven low-cost solution, and that is why SWEEP supports this bill in its current form. Thank you.
All right, if you've just joined us and you wish to give testimony in support of Senate Bill 162, please press *9 now to enter your place in the queue. Chair Harris, at this time, there are no more callers wishing to testify in support of the bill.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and move on to any testimony in opposition.
Absolutely. Callers, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 162, please press *9 now to enter your place in the queue. Once again, if you'd like to testify in opposition to the bill, please press *9 now. Chair, at this time, it appears no callers wish to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 162.
Okay, let's move on to those who'd like to testify in the neutral position.
If you'd like to testify in a neutral position for Senate Bill 162, please press *9 now to enter your place into the queue. Will the caller with the last 3 digits of 638 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alexis Motorex, ALEXIS with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors representing the commercial construction community in Northern Nevada. We are opposed to the bill as written, but neutral as presented with the amendment. We cannot continue to incentivize the transition to and purchase of electric and low-emission vehicles until we find an equitable way to fund the highway fund. We understand and appreciate the desire to encourage the purchase of EVs and LEVs, but Nevada relies on the gas tax to pay for road infrastructure. Every measure that seeks to electrify Nevada's transportation network must be preceded by the implementation of a reliable and equitable funding source. We are already too far behind and simply can't afford to kick this can any further. Thank you.
If you'd like to testify in a neutral position for Senate Bill 162, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Chair, at this time, there are no more callers wishing to testify in a neutral position for the bill.
All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Senator Dunyate, to see if you'd like to make any closing comments.
Thank you, Chair Harris, and to the committee members for your questions, and to those who called in to testify on this bill. I appreciate you guys taking it somewhat easy on me just as my first bill presentation, and I hope that we can have a deeper conversation on how we can move the needle towards green energy in an equitable manner. This bill provides our state the next step in thinking about incentives that can guide the transition to support the state's climate plan, and I look forward to supporting bills that reduce the burden of carbon emissions and pollution in the state of Nevada. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before we close the hearing, I believe we need to note that Senator Hammond, it appears, has some unofficial support with his signage in the back.
My homage to Eddie Grant. Thank you very much.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close the hearing for SB 162. Thank you, Senator Dunyate, for being with us today. And we will open up the hearing on Senate Bill 163. Welcome to our very own Senator Spearman. Go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just before I begin, I just want to say to Senator Dunyate, congratulations. That's an easy initiation, especially from Senator Pickard. So congratulations. Thank you, Chair Harris. For the record, I am Patricia Spearman, and I represent Senate District 1 in Clark County. I'm pleased to present Senate Bill 163 for your consideration today. Senate Bill 163 creates a special license plate for the Divine Nine, which are the historically Black Greek fraternities and sororities dating back to the early 1900s. As a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Theta Theta Omega Chapter, which is the oldest Divine Nine sorority, I'm proud to sponsor this bill to bring recognition to those historically and culturally significant organizations whose contributions to all aspects of American life and culture cannot be overstated. This year, especially momentous with the election of Kamala Harris, the first female, first person of color, and a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, was elected to the office of Vice President of the United States. Vice President Harris's accomplishments rest on the shoulders of Divine Nine alumni, Shirley Chisholm, Barbara Jordan, who sought presidential nominations in the 1970s and broke barriers of both race and gender. The members of the 5 fraternities and 4 sororities, which make up the National Panhellenic Council, what we call the Divine Nine, have been a part of American history starting at the turn of the 20th century. The first Divine Nine organization was founded in 1906, Alpha Phi Alpha. On the University of Cornell, on the grounds of Cornell University. Followed shortly thereafter by Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated at Howard University in 1908. The next historically Black Greek sororities and fraternities were founded in 1911 and 1922, with the 9th one established in 1963. Most of these organizations were founded during an era when Jim Crow ruled the South and before women of any color could vote. Over time, the members of the Divine Nine became catalysts for change through their activism in the women's rights movement and the civil rights movement, among others. These men and women have been and are today leaders in their communities, influential in art and culture, and politically engaged at all levels of government, as well as internationally. In addition to trailblazing politicians, the Divine Nine alumni include historical figures such as Dr. Martin Luther King, Thurgood Marshall, Reverend Jesse Jackson, all members of Alpha Phi Alpha. Betty Shabazz, who's the widow of Malcolm X, former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and Natalie Cole, all members of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Locally, Dr. Young, a former school board member, and North Las Vegas City Councilwoman Pamela A. Goins Brown are members of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Shaquille O'Neal, Tom Joyner, Ricky Smiley, and Stephen Harvey all are members of Omega Psi Phi. Marvin Sapp, Colin Kaepernick, Michael Jordan, and Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford and Assembly Speaker Jason Fryer are members of Kappa Alpha Psi. Victoria Royal, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that we have the former Commissioner Lawrence Weekly, who is also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. Victoria Royal and Anna Marie Horsford, Sigma Gamma Rho, and Tawanda Braxton, Zeta Phi Beta, Asha Jones, who is the Chief of Staff for Congressman Stephen Horsford, and Terrence C. Carson, Iota Phi Theta. In literature, the Divine Nine nurtured writers and poets like Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, and Langston Hughes. In arts and culture, Divine Nine alumni include a wide range of performers and artists, such as Aretha Franklin, Harry Belafonte, and Dionne Warwick. To a younger generation, Alicia Keys, Natalie Cole, and Wanda Sykes. You will hear today from state representatives of Divine Nine organizations in Nevada and see that their influence runs deep across America and is also deeply rooted in Nevada. Before I turn the presentation over, I would like to just go over briefly some key provisions of the bill, which are found in Section 1. Section 1 of the bill provides for the 9 legislatively approved special license plates that will commemorate each of the Divine Nine organizations which are listed in subsection 2. As you know, the legislature has approved a number of special license plates over the years for a variety of worthy organizations and causes. Each of the fraternities and sororities would have its own plate design. And the bill also allows these plates to be combined with personalized prestige plate. Subsections 4 and 5 of Section 1 spells out the fees for the special license plate, which are $35 for the license plate, $25 for the issuance of the plate, and $20 for renewal of the plate. These fees are in addition to the usual fees and taxes. In Section 6 of Section 1, the bill specifies that 5% of the fees collected will go to the United Negro College Fund for scholarships to Nevada residents attending a college in Nevada. The remaining 95% of the funds will be distributed among the 9 organizations based on the amount of fees collected for the plate. Each organization will then spend 10% of its special plate revenue on marketing of the plates, and the remaining 85% will go to an identified foundation or chapter to promote community awareness and action through educational, economic, and cultural service activities within the state. The remaining sections of the bill are conforming references. I said at the beginning that the contributions of the Divine Nine cannot be overstated. There is no decade in history since the early 1900s that you will not find the fingerprint and footprints of a member of Divine Nine. We have been socially active. We have been politically active. We are there in times of trouble. We are there in times of trauma. And we have done several things, even during this pandemic, to make sure that we are continuing our service to humankind. So thank you. That concludes my presentation. And before I turn over the presentation to the statewide Divine Nine representatives here today to address the impact of Nevada, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Senator Spearman at this time?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So with that, I will turn it over to LaTanya Boyd, who is president of the National Panhellenic Council.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. My name is LaTanya Bird. I am the president of the National Panhellenic Council Las Vegas chapter. And I just thank you again for taking the time out to listen to us, to give our voice our opinions. Just to give you a little insight of our council makes up of 12 active chapters within the National Panhellenic Council. Through the years, we've donated to Beacon High School graduating program, and we've had volunteered as a group with nonprofit organizations such as the Red Cross, the Las Vegas Rescue Mission, and 3 Square. In 2018, we collaborated with organizations, and we've done so much volunteer work that people know us for what we do as a volunteering as a council. We've also hosted blood drives, and we also, during those times, registered voters, newly voters, to get out there to vote, especially during, the most pivotal election. And in 2017 and 2019, we were honored by Clark County and former Commissioner Lawrence Weekley for the service that we do here in our community. That being said, I will leave off with introducing Brenna Rhodes-Ford, president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Theta Theta Omega chapter, who will be speaking on behalf of the sorority members, and former Commissioner Lawrence Weekley, member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Las Vegas alumni chapter, who will be speaking on behalf of the fraternities. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Brenna Rhodes-Ford, and I am president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Theta Theta Omega chapter in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for having this hearing on SB 163. I am here to testify in support of the bill. There are 4 historically Black sororities: Alpha Kappa Alpha, Delta Sigma Theta, Zeta Phi Beta, and Sigma Gamma Rho. What you may be wondering is, why are these people who are certainly no longer college age speaking on behalf of this bill? That is because traditionally and historically Black sororities and fraternities commit to sorority and fraternity service for life. We are expected to, and we do, continue our community service until we take our last breath. In fact, the mission statements of our organizations underscore the charitable works that we provide. Our mission statements are of the sororities: service to all mankind, public service with the primary focus on the Black community, foster the ideas of service, charity, scholarship, civil, and cultural endeavors, and enhance the quality of life within the community. With 421 combined years of service, these sororities have had a profound and lasting impact in Nevada, this country, and the world, as we have chapters around the globe. In recognition of the work we've done, several states, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, and New York, just to name a few, have issued license plates for Divine Nine organizations. But we have not yet had that ability in Nevada until now. So I just want to take a little bit of time to give you some examples of the work of our sorority programs through the years. Historically Black colleges and universities, known as HBCUs, make up only 3% of the country's colleges and universities.
However, they enroll 10% of all African American students and produce almost 20% of all African American graduates. Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority has supported HBCUs through its Think HBCU and HBCU for Life programs. For the last 3 years, Alpha Kappa Alpha has raised $1 million in just one day to support HBCUs. African American women are disproportionately plagued with health disparities like heart disease, diabetes, and more. 49% of Black women over the age of 20 have some form of heart disease. About 1 in 4 Black women over the age of 55 has diabetes, nearly twice the rate of white women. Delta Sigma Theta sorority has partnered with WW, formerly known as Weight Watchers, with the aim of empowering all people to take charge of their health by promoting daily activity, weight loss, and other holistic health topics. The mortality rate in the US is 17.3 deaths per 100,000 live births. However, it is significantly higher for Black women at 43.5 deaths per 100,000. Zeta Phi Beta sorority has maintained a 49-year partnership with the March of Dimes and has contributed over $5 million to date to provide prenatal education and support for mothers in need. Students of color are often concentrated in schools with fewer resources. Schools with 90% or more students of color spend $733 less per student per year than schools with 90% or more white students. Since 1996, Sigma Gamma Rho sorority has participated in Operation Big Book Bag with the goal of providing access, tools, and mentorship for school-age children. Each sorority represented in the Divine Nine has supported the mentoring and development of young ladies through our ACA teams, Delta Gyms, Arcanets, and Rower Club programs. We have all focused on education, health, economic empowerment, and political advocacy, issues that unquestionably affect our communities. So as you can see, the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, Delta Sigma Theta sorority, Zeta Phi Beta sorority, and Sigma Gamma Rho sorority have made significant contributions to the landscape of this great state. And I'd like to thank Senator Spearman for bringing this bill to highlight and acknowledge the contributions of all Divine Nine organizations. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I want to thank my dear friend, Bernard Rose Ford. Wonderful presentation here. As you can see behind me are giants. These are shoulders that we're standing on. And today I want to say to this illustrious committee here, first beginning with our honorable chair, Chair Harris, thank you so very much. I'm giving you the Wakanda hug to say thank you so very much for hearing this. But of course, to my very dear friend, Senator Pat Spearman, thank you so much for the vision. Thank you so much for realizing that this is so significant and so important. To this esteemed committee, my friend, Senator Brooks, of course, Senator Hammond, who I'd always look forward to playing in that annual legislative basketball game. He's an amazing guy. And then, of course, Senator Pickard, you know you're a class act as well. And so this is such an honor. And I want to say to this committee, let me start off with a little bit of history. Did you all know that it was 152 years ago that right here in the state of Nevada, March 1st, 1869, I want to share this with you all, that Nevada was the 15th state. Well, Nevada was the first state, as a matter of fact, to ratify the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment giving voting rights to African American men. 152 years ago, March 1st, that this is what happened here right in the state of Nevada. And so to be here today to testify on behalf of this historic license plates, Senate Bill 163, which means so much to so many of us. The Honorable Bernard Rose Ford spoke on behalf of the sororities, but let me speak on behalf of the fraternities really quick, because I think that some people get it twisted, Chair Harris. When they think of fraternities, they think of keg parties and they think of, all the negative things. But they don't understand that there are so many amazing things that happen with these amazing fraternities. Of course, you have Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. These 5 distinguished organizations have been a part of building what we call America. When you look at all of these past giants who, again, shoulders we're standing on, many of these men were a part of these historical fraternities. I heard Senator Spearman, she named some of the greats, but when we think about the Dr. Martin Luther Kings and we think about the Thurgood Marshalls, who said that if there's going to be a first class, then let there be a first class for all of us. We thank Arthur Ashe, who brought tennis to our world, who let it be known that Venus and Serena, you can grand slam. We thank Arthur Ashe. We thank Michael Jordan, who taught us that we could soar. We can soar and we can do great things. And who thanks him for that? People like LeBron James, of course. And then, of course, you have our own Nevadan, our beloved Nevadan, State Senator Joe Neal, who served the state of Nevada for so many amazing years, a phenomenal man of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Berna talked about some of the outstanding things that members of our sorority have done. We think about the millions of dollars also, too, that our fraternities have contributed, not just here in the state of Nevada, but internationally. Millions of dollars have afforded opportunities for young boys and young girls to know that post-secondary education is possible. Millions of dollars have been allocated and distributed to families out there who didn't know where their next meal was going to come from. From the mentorship programs that we offer here in Clark County, from the Kappa Leadership League to the Alpha Men of Tomorrow to the Sigma Beta Club, and of course to the other organizations, the Omega Gentlemen's Club. We are so responsible for so many young men who have gone on and stayed out of the judicial system. We didn't have to worry about their moms asking us for letters of recommendation to help get them out of juvenile or write a letter on their behalf because they found themselves caught up in the system. Many of these young men that we've been blessed to mentor and help them see the next level, I'm very grateful because I'm telling my age, senators, but I've had an opportunity to mentor individuals who have come through the state legislature, who are now elected officials. And it is really such a blessing to see the fruits of our labor. But I just want to say to Senator Spearman, thank you so much, because this is going to be something that we are all going to be so proud of. Wait till you see, I can almost imagine the competition that our president, LaTanya Bird, is going to put out there for us, that let's see who's going to be the top fraternity and who's going to be the top sorority that's going to go out and make sure that they get their license plates. Yo, I don't know if the state of Nevada is going to have enough staff to keep up with us. That's how successful that I believe this will be. And so, Chair Harris, thank you for this opportunity. We're asking you for your support of Senate Bill 163, and I just ask that you all stay safe. And Senator Chair, let me say this to you. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but you sure are coordinating with that chair you're sitting in today. Hey, thank y'all so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weekly. It's always a pleasure to see you. You as well, Ms. Rhodes Ford, one of my favorite constituents, and Ms. Bird. We haven't had the opportunity to meet, but it's a pleasure to have you in front of the committee. Just so you all know, yes, I have my camera off. You've heard of government cheese. I've got the government internet. And so I'm trying to reserve some bandwidth. But I've been engaged this whole time. Thank you all so much for being here. Are there any questions for our presenters before we turn over to testimony? Senator Hammond.
Thank you, Chair. No, it's just the typical question when, I've been a part of this this committee for a while, and whenever we have plates come up, there's always a question of what the procedures are. I just wanted to kind of make sure I understand that this is sort of the typical, you make the request, you get accepted. Is there a line then you have to wait for? Do you have to wait for someone to get out, an organization then to not be able to sell enough, and then you get in the line? And then is there a certain number of plates that you have to be committed to, get enough requested for before you get them? Is there any bonding or anything of that nature that needs to happen? Because I know that you have to create the plate as well, and there's got to be enough money in there for that. So I just kind of wanted to see the procedure for this, or is this a different beast altogether? And it goes right into production and is available for anybody and everybody.
Senator Hammond, we have Sean Sievers on, and I believe he can answer the technical question, but these license plates, issuance of these license plates will generally not be any different from the women's suffrage license plates that we had last session. We've created license plates for hockey teams. We've created license plates for baseball teams. So this really won't be any different, with one exception. And that is, to my knowledge, this will be the first special license plate issued in honor of African American service to this state and to this country. But I'll let Sean speak on some of the other particulars that you asked.
And Senator Spearman, I do not believe we have Mr. Sever on video, but I'll ask Ms. Scully if maybe she can share the information with him, and if we can get him to jump on in time, we'll circle back. Vice Chair Brooks.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Appreciate it. It's been a long day, and nothing like Commissioner Weekly to get you all fired up at the end of a very long day. So appreciate that. Good to see you, and also good to see you as well, Ms. Burns Board. I have the same questions, I think, as Senator Hammond did. With most of the license plates, or with all of the specialty plates, it's a minimum, I believe, of 3,000 special license plates have to be reserved. And it appears as if that we've got 9 different license plates within that in this piece of legislation. So, similar to Senator Hammond's question, would we submit all 9 of those and then try to get 3,000 different 3,000 reservations for those 9, and then submit all 9 at the same time? Because I know that there's also a statutory cap on the amount of specialty plates that can be out there. Or would it be in order of how they're listed in the bill in front of us?
So that too is another technical question that I'll reserve for Mr. Sears. But I'll tell you, when I spoke with him earlier today, as I said before, the procedure is the same. This legislation is for the Divine Nine, so it comes as a group, and each sorority and fraternity are a subset of that group.
So
I know that that didn't answer everything.
9 separate specialty licenses. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
If I could, Chair, just a point of clarification, if you don't mind.
No, please, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what Senator Brooks and I keep thinking about it, I guess there's 2 different types of specialty plates, very similar, because when Senator Spearman, when you mentioned the Raiders, the Golden Knights, what you're looking for here is a completely different designation, other than, it's not similar to organizations who get into a line and then they wait for their turn. They have to have a certain number of plates already sold or at least requested, and then they get in. Basically, this is you're looking at that same sort of designation. So that's why I'd really like to get the DMV to kind of give us the technical what's required before it goes into distribution, so that people can buy. But it doesn't sound like it sounds like anybody can then purchase the specialty plate. It'd be open to everybody, because we've had plates in the past, like what comes to mind is the Boy Scouts, the Scouts Eagle, the Scout plate, and you had to show that you were an Eagle Scout in order to purchase it or something of that nature. This is going to be for anybody to purchase, and then the money goes into those funds and then distributed as you mentioned earlier. Correct? Does it sound familiar?
And it looks like we have a representative from the DMV available here. Although it says Mr. Sever, that is not Mr. Sever, but we appreciate you joining us. Thank you. Do you need us to repeat any of the questions? Were you able to kind of catch what Chair Brooks or Vice Chair Brooks and Senator Hammond were getting at?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
We could, but it looks like you may be listening into the hearing. So you're going to want to turn that down or off before you speak. A bit like calling into the radio.
Can you hear me now?
We can, thank you.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Seems like now you can't hear us. You turned it all down.
Can anybody hear me? Okay. Press 1 and press 2 on the remote control to unmute. Maybe we try it on the phone.
We can hear you.
How about now?
We can hear you, ma'am.
I can't hear anyone.
So you got hash on your keyboard.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give it just a moment.
Where is it?
Mr. Mays, I don't know if you can possibly assist her, but especially since she can't hear us.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, yes, ma'am. Can you hear us?
It's not allowing me to.
No.
So to respond to Senator Hammond and Senator Brooks' questions, so this particular set of plates, the Divine Nine plates, fall into the legislatively approved category, and so they're not going to impact those that are in the Tier 1 and Tier 2 structure. And as far as this plate is concerned,
Welcome to 2021, everybody. Thanks for being patient.
Did she drop off in mid-sentence?
It appears she did. It looks like she muted herself.
okay, I think they're working on the audio.
Yeah, so I was watching and I saw the echo, and then I think you did something to mute it, and then you were coming through fine, but I guess they couldn't hear you.
We can still hear just fine.
I did in like 2 weeks.
I appreciate it. This is frustrating.
No.
Sorry.
Thank you, though.
All right. So what we're going to do, just for ease of time, is I'll coordinate with Ms. Scully and have her follow up on those questions. Vice Chair Brooks and Senator Hammond. Any closing remarks before we open it up for testimony? And Mr. Mays, if you could mute her feed, that would be great. Thank you so much.
And Chair Harris, I was just going to say, many of the members of the Divine Nine, though not all, went to and graduated from HBCUs. One of the things that this historic legislation will represent is a nod to the culture and the history of the African American community, which has been rich. I heard someone, I think it was Ms. Rhodes Ford, who said people ask, I thought sororities and fraternities were just in college. I think most of us can remember being on the quad on Friday and doing our step show, but that was just the beginning, because that helped us to form a bond that has never, ever been broken. This past election cycle, Divine Nine got together, and all the sororities that I know of did stroll to the polls. We registered people to vote. We had a national voter registration event. I believe the first woman Thunderbird out at Nellis is a graduate of an HBCU. I'm just not sure which sorority. But I say all that to say that the Divine Nine and this history, you could really call this Hidden Figures #2. Because we've been there all the time. People just have not noticed. And so now we want to take our place in history, being acknowledged for what we have done and what we can continue to do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. BPS, at this time, please go ahead and open up the testimony in support of SB 163.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 163, please press *9 now to enter your place into the queue. Once again, if you'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 163, please press *9 now to enter the queue. All right, with a caller with the last 3 digits of 881, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Cristal Boisseau, CRISTAL Greetings, Madam Chair Harris. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I am a member of Las Vegas Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta, Sorority Incorporated here in the Las Vegas Alumni Chapter. I'm here today to voice my support for the NPHC license plate, as the proceeds will support the United Negro College Fund. As we know, it's one of our nation's largest and most effective minority organizations that supports 37 historically Black colleges and universities. We all have heard a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I believe this is a great opportunity for our state to support UNCF by requiring all fees collected to be deposited quarterly to support these organizations, as well as our Nevada's National Panhellenic Council, made up of 9 historically Black sororities and fraternities here in Nevada. Thank you, Pat Spearman, for introducing Senate Bill 163, and Madam Chair Harris for being a part of history being made in Nevada.
All right, well, the next caller with the last 3 digits of 409, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now. Once again, caller with the last 3 digits of 409. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Belinda Marentic, Belinda Marentic, and I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and the current president of the Las Vegas Alumni Chapter. I pledged 21 years ago on the campus of UNLV, and I've given back to my community ever since. The passing of this bill would be a significant step in the right direction for the Divine Nine for the state of Nevada. Delta Sigma Theta has 3 chapters in the state. We are the largest, with about 200 active members and about 200 members that are also in the city, as well as our collegiate chapter at UNLV and our collegiate chapter at UNR. I support Senate Bill 163, and I just wanted to say thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity.
All right, well, the next caller with the last 3 digits of 305. Please slowly state and spell your name for your record. You may begin now.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Michael Smith. Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L. Smith, S-M-I-T-H. I serve as the Bacillus, or the president, of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in Reno and the Northern Nevada Quad Counties. I pledged the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity 40 years ago in 1981 at a historical HBCU in Mississippi. I also have served as the Bacillus in chapters in Mississippi and Tennessee, and both states have the Divine Nine tags. Just to sort of ease some maybe discussion in this, as the questions were asked earlier, but because of no one was there technically to ask those questions, the tags were pre-sold, and to determine the number, and that way the Divine Nine will go ahead and purchase and pre-sell the tags. So that way, when the tags were produced, they were able to purchase them. And the artwork was submitted by each respective sorority and fraternity. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated was founded in November 17, 1911, at Howard University, the same university that the Vice President Kamala Harris attended. From the initials of the Greek phrase meaning friendship is essential to the soul, the name Omega Psi Phi Fraternity was derived. That phrase was selected as the motto: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift, and were adopted as those cardinal principles. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated was incorporated under the laws of the District of Columbia on October the 28th, 1914. Omega Psi Phi is a unique group of men that encourages high standard community service and assist in building of character and leadership development among men. Members of Omega share a common foundation, camaraderie that lasts for a lifetime. Omega has over 700 chapters throughout the United States, including Bermuda, Bahamas, Virgin Islands, Korea, Japan, Liberia, Germany, Kuwait, and just recently in Mexico. There are many noble Omega men recognized as leaders in the arts, sciences, academics, athletics, businesses, civil rights, education, and government and various science sectors on the local, national, and international levels. I am in full support of SB 163. I would like to give kudos and thank Senator Harris and the others for being responsible for introducing the Senate Bill 163 for discussion. And also, I want to take this moment, and I'll be remiss if I didn't say Happy Women's History Month to our great women of the legislature in Nevada. Thank you.
Will the next caller with the last 3 digits of 788, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now. Once again, will the caller with the last 3 digits of 788, please slowly state and spell the name for the record. You may begin now. Chair, it appears that caller is having some technical difficulties, so I will go ahead and move on to the next caller if that's okay.
Seems to be the theme of the day. Perfectly fine.
All right, thank you. Will the caller with the last three digits of 017 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashanti Lewis for the record, spelled A-S-H-A-N-T-I, last name L-E-W-I-S, and I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Theta Omicron Zeta Chapter in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I am calling in today in support of Senate Bill 163. Thank you, Chair Harris and members of the committee. I urge you to consider this legislation. Thank you.
All right, will the caller with the last three digits of 959 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Yes, for the record, my name is Attar Hasibullah, first name spelled A-T-H-A-R, last name spelled H-A-S-E-E-B-U-L-L-A-H. Greetings, Chair Harris and members of the committee. I am proud to testify in support of SB 163. I am president of the Theta Pi Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, which covers Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and Henderson. I was also recently named the executive director of the ACLU of Nevada, and I've testified before this committee numerous times during my previous tenure as lobbyist for the RTC of Southern Nevada, and built relationships with most of you during my time as general counsel with Opportunity 180 as well. I'm a graduate of Howard University and Howard Law, where I was initiated into Alpha, and credit Alpha with much of my development, as do many of our members. Our fraternity is 114 years old, and we have over 800 chapters worldwide. Some of our fraternity brothers include Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Justice Thurgood Marshall. We have members of our fraternity who are Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives, and all of us are devoted to service. Our work locally routinely results in us giving out tens of thousands of dollars in scholarships to new college students. We participate in numerous community service initiatives, including volunteer programs to promote initiatives to care for our seniors and vulnerable, and we work to bring up students to the legislature. In fact, last session, we brought some of our Alpha Men and Divas of Tomorrow, our high school youth group, to Carson City, alongside Commissioner Weekly's Kappa Leaguers. They described the experience as life-changing. And our late Assemblyman, Tyrone Thompson, helped us coordinate that program, and many of you, including Senator Hammond, took time out of your day when we brought them up to interact with our students that forever shaped their life. With that, we're incredibly grateful to the sponsor for bringing this bill forward, and I'm elated to testify in support. Thank you.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 520 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now. Once again, caller with the last three digits of 520, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now. All right, Chair, I'm going to circle back to this caller as well, and we can move on to the next caller if that's okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 525 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now. Once again, caller with the last three digits of 525. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now. Callers, if you receive a prompt telling you that the host is asking you to unmute and you are still unable to speak, you may try pressing *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
All right, caller
Good
with the
afternoon.
last. Oh, I'm sorry. Caller with the last three digits of 520. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Good afternoon. My name is Cornelia Murphy House. First name is spelled Cornelia. Last name Murphy-House. I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and I'm calling in support of the Senate Bill 163. Thank you.
All right, well, the next caller with the last three digits of 525, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Let's go ahead if we can and move on to any test.
I'm sorry, Chair Harris, will you repeat that?
Actually, it sounds like we've got the caller on the line. She can go ahead and proceed with her testimony.
Thank you so much.
Good
Sorry
evening.
about that.
Good evening. My name is Sparkle Williams, SPARKLEWILLIAMS. I am a member and the president of the Las Vegas chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I am in support of SB Bill 163, and I am so honored that Senator Spearman has speared this bill, as this has been something that is in the making, that has been in the making. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated this year will celebrate 45 years serving the Las Vegas community and surrounding areas. We currently have 5 chapters in the Las Vegas area, and we are just so delighted to be a part of this bill and to make history in the Las Vegas area. I have been a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated for 20 years this month through HBCU Wilberforce University, and with us serving our community through our Z-Hope, Zeta helping other people excel. This is just a diamond to show all of our hard work over the many years since the 1900s here around the world in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I thank you for your time, and I, again, support SB 163.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 747, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Armstrong, MARK-ARMSTRONG. I am the treasurer of the local alumni chapter and the immediate past Western Regional Director of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you to Madam Chair Harris and the members of the committee for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I've been a fully financial member for over 33 uninterrupted years, and I have been servicing the community of Nevada for the past 17 years. Specialty license plates are a big hit and very common here in Nevada, with over 59 different ones, generating revenue and recognition for causes and organizations. Not only would Senate Bill 163 provide for the creation of specialty plates that will generate funds for the Divine Nine organizations and scholarships and causes they support. The bill would also provide great recognition and a way for us to promote and show pride in our respective organizations, which each are very active servicing here the respective communities in Nevada. Thank you to Senator Pat Spearman for introducing this bill, and I am in strong support of the bill. And thank you for allowing me to testify today in support of Senate Bill 163. Thank you.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 828 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair Harris and Senator Spearman. My name is Maggie, M-A-G-G-I-E, Longley, L-O-N-G-L-E-Y. I am the Bacillus, or the President, of Mu Rho Sigma Alumni Chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, Incorporated. I am also the Treasurer of National Panhellenic Council of Las Vegas. I support Senate Bill 163. Each organization in the Divine Nine has a deep history of supporting scholarship, service, brotherhood, and sisterhood throughout the United States and worldwide. The members of Divine Nine have proven throughout decades that we are committed to uplifting and giving back to the community. I believe a specialty license plate will be the beginning of showing the community we stand together in a united front for enhancing the life for all people. Thank you.
Will the next caller with the last three digits of 847 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Joe McNeely, J-O-E-M-C, capital N-E-L-L-Y. I'm with Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated here in Las Vegas. I'm a member who was made from Phi Beta Sigma here since '92, a graduate from UNLV. One of the things that's so great about our fraternity is our motto, culture for service and service for humanity, and our principles, brotherhood, scholarship, and service. And I want to talk a lot about that because, as you know, a lot of the members of the Divine Nine we talk about, we are the oil in a lot of machines. So a lot of times we're up front and we're out in the community and we're showing face and we're doing the work ourselves. And many other times we're providing the supplies or monetary means to actually support our community. And the thing about the plates, Divine Nine plates here, will actually increase awareness within the community so they can actually self-identify who we are, as they know that we have many programs and things individually throughout our individual organizations, and we also collaboratively. So with that being said, to increase awareness and also better service our community, as well as a sense of pride, as they know when they see any member of Divine Nine, they know we're here to help support our community. So my name again is Joe McNeely, and I stand in full support of Senate Bill 163. Thank you very much for your time.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 732 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Bryce. The first name is J-A-C-Q-U-E-L-I-N-E. Last name B-R-I-C-E. And I am a 40-year member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, where I originally pledged at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles as a charter member of the chapter there. And the way that the awareness of Sigma Gamma Rho and the community service that was exhibited on that campus and in the Los Angeles community, I look forward to working with and representing the other sororities and fraternities of the Divine Nine. These business plates would bring awareness to everyone in the state and show that community service and awareness of humankind is prevalent in youth and adults, and gives everyone an opportunity to be supported by an educational and proud group of members. Thank you.
Will the caller with the last 3 digits of 357 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Hi, my name is Christian Duncan, KRISTIANDUNCAN, member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and I support this bill.
Will the next caller with the last 3 digits of 821 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now. Caller, it appears we're unable to hear you. If you're there, you can try pressing *6 and unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
For the record, my name is H-U-L, and I am the Nevada Sorority Incorporated, and I'm calling in support of Senate Bill 163. Thank you.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 419, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now. Caller with the last 3 digits of 419. You are live to the broadcast. You may please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now. You may also try pressing *6 to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Great. Greetings, Madam Chair. This is Robert White, R-O-B-E-R-T, White, common spelling W-H-I-T-E. I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and I'm in support of Bill SB 163. Thank you.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 788, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now, and if you're having trouble unmuting yourself, please press *6 to try to unmute your microphone. Caller with the last 3 digits of 788, You are live to the broadcast, but it seems that you're having some trouble with your microphone. Please try pressing *6 again to unmute yourself. If there are any more callers wishing to give testimony, please press *9 now to enter your place into the queue. Will the caller with the last 3 digits of 788 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now. Okay, will the next caller with the last 3 digits of 028 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Madam Chair and committee members, my name is Monty McCoy, M-O-N-T-Y, M-C-C-O-Y. I am the Vice Bossless or Vice President of Beta Mu Mu, an unincorporated chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in Las Vegas. And the testimony that I support Bill SB 163, and pretty much everything has already been said, but I want to also highlight that the alumni chapters here are all college graduates. And I also want to highlight that our particular chapter in 2010 and 2011 sponsored and issued a scholarship to a Cimarron High School student that participated in our essay and competed on the national level, which brought focus on Nevada as well as showing that Nevada is able to produce high school students that are able to excel scholarly. I also want to point out that one thing that I think has not been mentioned is that these organizations that you're talking about fall right in line with your military, different U.S. military organizations. I mean, many of these members in the fraternities as well as the sororities have also served honorably in our military. So this is also, even though it seems like 9 places a lot, it's no different than when you look at our military services and you see the different branches. Even though all of them fall under DOD, all of them fall under the Department of Defense, all of them have a unique identity that they bring to that aspect that supports our nation. The same is true with the Divine Nine. All of us have the same cause. We give back to the community without any expectation. We're always there to provide some type of relief. But at the same time, all of us have our own unique identity. And that's the reason why there are so many different organizations, because each organization has its own identity that it brings relief. People identify with this particular sorority or this particular organization that's a fraternity. So it's more than just a bunch of people that are attending college. Majority of these organizations are college graduates. Particularly in my organization with Omega Psi Phi, only about 23 of our organizations out of the 700 that one of my brothers talked about 23 are undergraduate. Majority of these organizations are graduate, people that have graduated, excelled in college. Majority of the people that do join these organizations have some of the highest GPAs on all their campuses, because that's what we strive for. That's what we ask other people that want to join our organization. First thing that we look at is, what is your GPA? What is your academic excel? Why do you want to give back to the community? What have you done to give back to the community? So those are some of the things to highlight our different organizations, and these plates would just recognize that excellence as also act as a beacon to show that Nevada does support education. Nevada does support community service. Nevada does support a good citizen. And I think that's very unique, and I think that's very, very important in this day and age, especially looking at the last year that we went through, where there's been so much turmoil in our country. I think we need to show that it's not the individual, and I think it was said way back in the 60s, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And that's what these organizations exemplify. And I think having that plate that shows that Nevada supports that, I think that's strongly supports that statement. That's my testimony, and I want to end with saying I do highly support SB 163. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your audience.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 143 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now. Once again, caller with the last three digits of 143, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. If you're having trouble with your microphone, you can try pressing *6 to unmute yourself. You may begin now. Chair, I apologize for any technical interruptions. It seems like the last two callers we have in our queue to give support for Senate Bill 163 are callers that we were having technical issues with.
I just unmuted, I'm sorry.
Oh, caller with the last three digits of 143, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Yes, sir. My name is Abasi Dominique Rawlings, ABASI-DOMINIQUE, last name RAWLINGS. I speak in support of Bill SB 163. I also speak on behalf of my brothers of the Gamma Beta Omega chapter of Iota Phi Beta Fraternity Incorporated here in Las Vegas, Nevada, a chapter for in which I'm the secretary of. Being a part of a Black Greek organization since 2013 has incrementally raised my personal, educational, and professional growth. And I know I not only speak for myself, but for countless men across this nation. So we have historically contributed to society with the utmost positivity in areas such as politics, arts, and civil rights. I feel the influence and contribution of the Divine Nine should be rewarded with this such gesture so that we may not only don these plates as badges of honor, but also enabling us to continue to promote the spread of scholarship, leadership, citizenship, fidelity, and brotherhood among men. Thank you.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 788 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Reverend Dr. Jacqueline Pippion Close. JACQULENPIPPION-SWOPE. Finally, I am a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, and I am in favor of Senate Bill 163. I know it's a common misconception about Divine Nine is that in membership is merely a college experience. However, membership in a Divine Nine organization is a lifelong commitment and beyond. Our commitment is to uplift the community as we are important drivers of services. We continue to make us notable leaders through many projects, many presentations, and progress within our organizations among us Black individuals. We do work very hard, and we are committed to what it is we do for the students that are in school, that see us in our divine colors. They are interested and we bring to them encouragement. We want to be there for them as well as working with individuals in our communities, because that is what we are here for. So we want to be noted. We want those around to see who we are and what we do as we bring them along, as we attempt to make sure that each one of the students and children will realize and understand that education is for everyone, not just individuals. Our community services, all individuals. It does not matter. I have been a member since 1972, made at Chicago State University in Chicago, Illinois. So I thank you, Senator Spearman, and the NPHC for bringing this to Nevada, for it is well needed, and we should all be noted. And the biggest thanks to Vice President Kamala Harris. Thank you so much.
Chair Harris, at this time, there are no more callers wishing to give testimony in support of Senate Bill 163.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to those who'd like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 163.
Absolutely, callers, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 163, please press *9 now to enter your place into the queue. Once again, to testify against Senate Bill 163, please press *9 now. Chair, at this time, it appears no callers wish to give testimony against Senate Bill 163.
All right, let's open it up for testimony in the neutral position.
Callers, if you'd like to give testimony in a neutral position for Senate Bill 163, please press *9 now to enter your place to the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 101, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Good afternoon. My name is April Sanborn, APRIL SANBORN. For the record, I am the administrator at the Department of Motor Vehicles here in the state of Nevada. I'd like to apologize for the technical difficulties we had earlier attempting to provide responses to the senator's questions. We were, however, on the phone, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to respond to you. And we are obviously here in a neutral testimony. As far as the questions that were posed, I would just like to say that the Divine 9 plates fall under the legislatively approved plates and are not bound by the requirements of our Tier 1 and Tier 2 plates. So that means that the organizations won't need to submit a bond, or they are not required to maintain the maximum number or the minimum number of plates that are required of our Tier 1 and Tier 2 for the 1,000 or 3,000. So none of those requirements fall on these particular plates. And so Senator Brooks also asked the question, would we essentially just submit all 9? And then I apologize, I didn't hear the last part of that question. But I would like to offer that upon passage and approval, we will go ahead and begin having conversations with these organizations to begin a discussion and engage in the design process with the organizations and in collaboration with them as well. And so if you have any further questions regarding these plates, if you could just reach out to Sean Sever, we will go ahead and get all those answers over to you. Thank you very much.
Callers, if you'd like to give testimony in a neutral position for Senate Bill 163, please press *9 now to enter your place into the queue. Chair Harris, at this time, there are no more callers wishing to testify in a neutral position for the bill.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to all of the committee members for hanging in there. It seems like there's clearly no question that the Divine Nine knows how to be civically engaged. And so we appreciate everyone calling in to voice their opinion on the bill. We will go ahead and close out the testimony for SB 163, as well as the hearing on 163. And we will turn it over to public comment.
All right, callers, if you wish to give public comment, please press *9 now to enter your place to the queue. Once again, please press *9 now to enter your place for public comment.
And while we're queuing that up, it looks like Ms. Bird would like to speak.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I just, once again, on behalf of the National Panhellenic Council, Las Vegas, want to thank you all for listening to us speak our opinions. Thank you so much, Senator Spearman, for leading this for us. We really appreciate you. Just to give you, a heads up, our organization, we take it to heart and we love our organizations so much. And one thing I do want to mention is that we all have our own special membership card. So everyone will not be able to receive this plate because you will have to show that you are a member of the National Panhellenic Council, that you are a member of one of the Divine Nine organizations. And so just wanted to thank you so much. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just want to say real quick, I left something undone. The first woman to be a part of the Thunderbirds is Captain Remoshe Nelson, and she is a Delta. I also neglected to mention the fact that my father was an Alpha who pledged the Tuskegee Institute.
All right, thank you. Public comment, anyone for public comment?
Chair, at this time, there are no callers wishing to give public comment.
Okay, I would be also remiss in saying if anyone was unable to voice their support, please feel free to do so in writing. I'd also like to note that we have some letters of support on Nellis, as well as a presentation and a bit about the National Panhellenic Council on Nellis as well. Please feel free to take a look at that. I'll offer to committee members at this time if they want to make any closing comments before we close this out. Okay, with that, our next meeting will be Monday, March 15th at 3:30 p.m. We are adjourned.